What if the crown just slipped away, silently, unexpectedly, before the world could even react? What if I told you that King Charles III didn't just step down from the throne, but did so with one name echoing across every line of his resignation? And what if that name wasn't Prince William? What if it was Prince Harry? Yes, you heard right. King Charles is no longer king. And while the press fumbles with sanitized headlines and palace officials scramble for damage control, the truth remains far messier than Buckingham Palace dares to admit. This wasn't a quiet retirement. It was a forced surrender. And behind it was one betrayal so profound, so deeply personal, that it shattered not only the monarch, but the monarchy itself. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The question isn't just why Charles abdicated. The real question is, what did Prince Harry do that made his father give up the throne in disgrace and pushed Prince William to strike back with royal fury? Tonight, we don't deal in rumors. We deal in the shadows behind the palace curtains. We dive deep into secret conversations, intercepted communications, leaked letters, and unheard recordings. Because the story unfolding isn't just about a change of crown. It's about a family eating itself from the inside out. But before we reveal the phone tapes, before we show you the final letter Charles wrote before giving up his throne, before we expose the one person who orchestrated Harry's downfall from behind the scenes, we need to ask, how did we get here? Because this wasn't a single act of betrayal. It was years in the making. A war disguised as family dinners. A feud hidden behind smiles. A crown passed down, not with pride, but with the weight of revenge. Let's go back, way back, before the scandal, before the coronation, before William's first royal order banished his own brother in front of the entire court. Let's start on the day King Charles made the most shocking decision of his life. It was early morning at Clarence House. Staff had gathered for the usual weekly briefing. The tone was somber, almost nervous, but no one knew why. Charles hadn't slept, they said. He hadn't spoken to anyone, not even Camilla. His aides noticed something odd. His desk was perfectly cleared, as if preparing for an end. His tea had gone cold. And then, just before 6:30 a.m., a sealed envelope was handed to his private secretary. Inside, a 6-line letter. No royal wax. No ceremonial language. Just a signature and a line that would reverberate across Britain by noon. I hereby relinquish my sovereign duties, effective immediately. The reasons, personal and necessary, are attached in my private statement to the Privy Council. Charles R. The room froze. No preparation. No forewarning. No months-long transition plan. Just abdication. But here's what they didn't tell the public. Attached to that resignation was a sealed document. A private document addressed to 3 people, William, and the Archbishop of Canterbury. And within that document, a name, Prince Harry, again and again, underlined, referenced, blamed. What could Harry possibly have done that would make the King of England throw in the towel? Give up a throne he waited his entire life to sit on? A clue came just hours later, when Prince William was summoned to a private room inside Windsor Castle. The crown was waiting. Quiet. No cameras. No gold stage. No waving crowd. Just an emergency crowning. Because this wasn't a celebration. This was a containment. And the very first words William spoke after being crowned weren't words of unity or tradition. They were chilling. Calculated. Let it be known throughout the realm that Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, shall no longer enjoy the rights, honors, or recognitions of a royal subject. His exile is effective immediately. A collective gasp. From staff, from his own family, and from a world watching on livestream. Wait, exile? Banishment? This wasn't just a demotion. This was an obliteration. And that's when the emails started to leak. Emails tracing Harry's private meetings with a foreign media executive with ties to controversial outlets. Emails discussing unreleased footage of the king. Sensitive footage. Private footage. It wasn't just betrayal, it was espionage. But that was only scratching the surface. Because the real spark that detonated this royal chain reaction was hidden in a device even William hadn't known existed. An audio recorder, kept for safety. Activated without Harry's knowledge. And when William pressed play, everything changed. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is about more than one scandal. More than one recording. More than one betrayal. This is the story of how the House of Windsor turned in on itself. How one man stepped down, another rose, and a third was banished into the night. And we need to talk about why this story matters now. Because for years, the public has speculated about royal tensions. Tabloids hinted. Body language experts dissected footage. YouTubers, podcasters, TikTokers tried to put the puzzle together. But they didn't have the whole picture. Until now. What happened in the last 48 hours changes the monarchy forever. It shifts alliances, rewrites royal protocol, and ends whatever illusion of peace the public once believed existed between the brothers. This isn't just a royal scandal. It's a constitutional earthquake. And yes, it all comes back to Harry. The man once hailed as the people's prince. The one who walked behind Diana's coffin. The one who married an American actress and promised to modernize the crown. The one who cried on camera about feeling trapped. The one who said they never protected us. And yet, now he's the one on the outside. Stripped, cut off, banished. How did the royal rebel become the royal disgrace? And what did King Charles find that made him give up the throne rather than face his youngest son? Because sources now say the abdication wasn't just a response to stress or age. It was a move to protect the monarchy from destruction. From within. There's a phrase that appears in Charles's private letter to the Archbishop. One line that has now been verified by palace insiders. I will not be the monarch who watches the crown burn from my son's hands. That's what he said. Not out of illness. Not out of weakness. But out of fear. Fear of what Harry was about to do. Or had already done. And now that William has taken power, we're seeing the response unfold in real time. Exile. Reassignments. Purges within the palace staff. Rumors of canceled charities, revoked titles, and secret interrogations within MI5. This is not the royal family you think you know. This is House Windsor in survival mode. And over the next hour, we're going to walk through each devastating moment that led to this. Chapter by chapter. Scandal by scandal. One crack in the crown at a time. We'll uncover the hidden alliances, the shocking betrayals, and the ultimate decision that forced a king to surrender and a brother to strike back. But first, let me ask you something. What would you do if your own family member tried to destroy everything you were sworn to protect? Would you forgive them? Or would you exile them? Because in the halls of royalty, forgiveness is rare. And revenge wears a crown. This is only the beginning. Because what comes next? No one saw it coming. What kind of father gives up a crown to stop his own son? That was the question echoing through every corridor of Buckingham Palace the morning King Charles III disappeared from public view. It wasn't the kind of silence you expect from a palace used to scandal. No emergency press briefings. No leaks to the tabloids. Just an eerie stillness. Phones were off the hook. Meetings were canceled. Even the guards, usually so stoic, kept glancing nervously at each other. Because something had shifted. Behind closed doors, the unthinkable had happened. Charles was done. He hadn't died. He hadn't collapsed. He hadn't been overthrown. He had quit. But why? Why would a man who waited his entire life, decades longer than any heir in British history, to finally wear the crown, give it up so suddenly, so quietly, and with so much unresolved? It wasn't illness. It wasn't pressure. It wasn't politics. It was betrayal. Not from his enemies, but from his blood. From Harry. Let's rewind the clock. Go back 72 hours before Charles's abdication. It was a Thursday evening. Camilla had just returned from a charity gala in Hampshire. Charles was alone in his private library at Sandringham, a place he often escaped to when the pressure of public life became too loud. Only this time, there was no escape. A manila envelope had been placed on his desk. No royal crest. No label. Just 3 words written in shaky cursive. You need to see this. The handwriting? Princess Anne's. Inside the envelope, a USB drive. And on that drive, audio. Unedited. Raw. Brutal. It was Harry's voice. Not from a podcast. Not from an interview. This wasn't something made for public consumption. This was private. Captured in a way only someone on the inside could have managed. The recording began in mid-sentence, almost like it had been cut from a longer conversation. And once the book drops, we go straight for the funding piece. I don't care if it's a breach. They breached first. The voice was unmistakable. Calm. Confident. Dangerous. Charles reportedly sat frozen for 3 minutes. The conversation went on to reference classified palace decisions, sensitive timelines, things only a handful of people in the royal circle knew. And yet Harry spoke about them like a man untouchable, like a man with a plan. But it wasn't the content that shattered Charles. It was the tone. It wasn't pain. It wasn't desperation. It was strategy. He wasn't venting. He was plotting. And for Charles, that was the final straw. Now remember, this wasn't the first time Charles had weathered Harry's storms. From the Oprah interview to the Netflix documentary, to the memoir, Charles had, by all accounts, tried to take the higher road. No public retaliation. No official condemnation. Just silence. But this was something else. This wasn't about telling his truth. This was about power. And Charles had two choices. Expose his son and risk burning the entire monarchy to the ground in public fire. Or step away, quietly, privately, with dignity, what little remained. He chose the latter. But don't mistake that for weakness. It was a power move. One made to protect the institution from a scandal it might not survive. Because here's what few realize. The monarchy isn't just a family. It's a machine. A billion-pound institution held together by loyalty, image, and absolute control over narrative. And Charles knew, once that recording got out, everything would collapse. So, he made the decision before it could. He took the fall, and made William the shield. At precisely 5:58 a.m. the next day, Charles summoned his closest aide and dictated a letter by hand. It was short, clinical, barely 60 words. No emotion, no explanation, just a decision. I hereby relinquish all sovereign duties, effective immediately. He didn't tell Camilla. He didn't tell the Prime Minister. He told Anne. Why Anne? Because she was the only one he trusted to act without hesitation. And didn't argue. She didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. She simply nodded and went to work. The crown needed to move fast. Before anyone could spin the story. Before Harry could react. Before Meghan could make a statement. Before the press had a chance to circle like vultures. By mid-morning, the press office released a vague bulletin. Due to personal health and internal matters, His Majesty King Charles III will be stepping back from royal duties. The Prince of Wales will serve in his stead. But insiders already knew it wasn't temporary. This was abdication. And the public? They were stunned. Theories flew across social media. Did Charles relapse? Is he dying? Was this Camilla's doing? But no one guessed the truth. No one imagined that a conversation between brothers, one now king, one now pariah, was the match that lit the royal fire. That same morning, William arrived at Windsor. No escort. No formalities. He walked in wearing a simple gray suit. No crown. No sash. Just purpose. He met Anne in the green drawing room. Alone. A few minutes later, they both walked into the royal chapel. There, in a hushed private ceremony, with only 4 witnesses, Prince William became King William V. No fanfare. No anthem. Just silence. And a single phrase spoken aloud. God save the king. But what came next was even more unexpected. William turned to the attending notary and made a verbal decree. Let it be recorded and enacted immediately. Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, is no longer a subject of this crown. His rights, titles, and lineage as a royal shall be rescinded. He is hereby banished from royal presence, privilege, and power indefinitely. A shiver ran through the room and lowered her gaze. The notary's pen trembled. Even the chaplain flinched. Because this wasn't just a punishment. It was a purge. William wasn't just defending the crown. He was erasing a brother. Do you think that's harsh? Ask yourself, what would you do? What if your brother had risked your family's legacy? What if he plotted to bring down the institution that shaped your entire identity? Would you forgive him? Or would you fight back? Because William did what Charles couldn't. He made it personal. He made it final. And behind that decision was something far deeper than pride or power. It was grief. The grief of a brother betrayed not once, but again and again. And the grief of a son who just watched his father give up the greatest symbol of legacy because of that betrayal. But even William, now newly crowned, hadn't yet seen everything. He didn't know what else was on that USB drive. He didn't know about the second recording, the one that didn't just expose Harry's ambitions, but revealed something even darker. A hidden connection, a foreign advisor, a plan that stretched far beyond royal gossip and into the realm of national concern. Because Harry wasn't acting alone. And what Charles suspected, what made him truly walk away, was the fear that his son, his own blood, was no longer just a family problem, but a threat to the institution itself. And the monarchy? It only survives by cutting out the cancer before it spreads. But what came next would change everything. And no one saw it coming.